up?
All right, ladies and gentlemen, he's telling me to stop him. You know? All right. Okay, so go ahead. That's good enough. Thank you, Mr.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have with us in the house none other than Mr. Joe Aranda. How you doing, brother?
Doing great. Good to be here.
And helping us and assisting us with this interview is going to be some other people here. Cause guess what? We in the basement.
The basement.
That's BASSMINT. We got the pros. We got the big time pros named Joe coming to hang out with little guys like me, and also helping us with this interview is Miss Cynthia Willis and Tony Moe,
Chris Willis,
Dre,
Ray,
John,
and Guy. When I said Dre, I repeated, and he said Ray. I was like, I thought I had messed up. So we got Dre and Ray sitting next to us, and they actually. Okay. And they actually know each other. Good friends, bass players too, right? Small world.
In the same spot. Yes, sir.
Such a small world, man. I tell you. And they're gonna be assisting us doing this interview with Joe Aranda. My first question usually is something, but you holding something that I really want.
Gets a lot of attention, really.
Yeah. I really want that bass, man. What you playing over
this
there?
This right here is a one-of-a-kind bass. Been blessed to receive. It's a Federa Monarch Victor Wooten. Should say Victor Wooten. They have a model called the Victor Wooten Classic, but this actually what belonged to Victor Wooten. Yeah, it was made for him when the new electronics, the Mike Pope preamp, was introduced into the bass, into their basses. Victor wanted one of his style basses made with the new preamp, so this was the first one that they made for him with that new preamp. Wow. Yeah, but unfortunately, the way the controls were laid out, they were a little bit too far forward for his liking, and he would hit the volume now.
Okay.
And he loved how this bass sounded. He had it for about 6 months on the road, and he said, it just doesn't work. It gets in my way. I want you to build me another one and invert the knobs. So if you see his basses now, the knobs are a little bit further back, and these are straight. And so he said, I'm going to go ahead and we're going to raffle this one off at his very first bass nature camp in 2000. And I went there as a student and won the bass.
Oh yeah!
Awesome.
All right.
That's awesome.
So it's a pretty amazing bass. And something else that's kind of interesting about this bass, I found out later on, was this is the only bass that Victor has ever owned that he no longer owns. So every other bass he's ever had, he still has those basses. So this one's a pretty cool one.
Right.
Right. And
so how much you want to sell?
Priceless. So you know that priceless. There it is, priceless.
Yeah. Thus, I'm once again I'm jealous, but I don't mind being jealous. You know what I'm saying? This is that's just a great story and a great bass.
Great bass, right?
Well, so now I can get back to normal. My first question I usually like to ask is, when did you start playing the bass, and why?
Why? You know, this story is so similar to what other people are saying. There was always a guitar in my household. My dad had a nice old Gibson, and so when I was a kid, I'd mess around with that, and eventually took a couple lessons, and really didn't get to, where I could really be a guitar player, but I gravitated toward those bass lines on that guitar, and the music that I was liking to listen to has Motown and R&B, and just had those bass lines. So I would practice those bass lines, and eventually it got to where I really thought, yeah, I want to play bass. And a Detroit bass player appeared. I'm from Adrian, Michigan, which is about an hour south from Detroit. And a Detroit bass player by the name of Dave Dillard, came around. His brother moved to Adrian and became friends with my brother. He lived in the neighborhood. And this bass player, brother of his, would come and visit, and he had a '76 Stingray. And he was just wicked. He was a wicked, talented wizard on the bass, and he just turned me on to the greatest bass music right off the bat. Before I even had a bass, he put Stanley Clarke and Jaco Pastorius and Louis Johnson and Percy Jones and all these great bass player music, and it just turned me around. I was already into the funk and all that. But then when he turned me on to, the fusion, and I saw the link between it, because a lot of the same bass players were playing. Louis Johnson was playing on Stanley Clarke's music, so I saw that link, which next thing you know, I started seeing Marcus Miller and that link between the R&B music that I was listening to just because it was on the radio with Luther Vandross, and next thing I seen him on all these other records. So I just became a fan and fell in love with the bass right away, through that. And eventually I got a bass. It still took me about another year, but I got a bass. And so my learning curve was pretty quick because I was already so hip to a lot of great music that once I finally got a bass, within about 6 months I was starting to be able to play a little bit.
Big. And you mentioned some of my favorites. Exact same thing happened to me when I heard Stanley. It's a dude say, listen to this.
Right.
And it was Stanley and Jocko, and then it's like I became somebody else. My whole me became somebody else just listening to them two cats right there. So you finally got a bass. What kind was it?
I fell in love with Jocko, so there was a little pawn shop in Adrian where there was a cheap Fender Jazz copy. It was an Aspen Jazz, and it was sunburst with the rosewood. I was like, all right, I'll just go with it. It was cheap. I talked my dad into it was $100, So I got that and just got started. It didn't even I never did get the front pickup to work. But to play with Jocko's sound, it worked anyway. He never used the front pickup anyway. So I had that weird, nasally sounding bass, for a long time. And then I ended up getting a Stingray, a 78 Stingray.
Any other basses in your arsenal?
My main bass is a 5-string, for a lot of the same reasons. Once I finally started getting into playing gospel and different things, more R&B, that it just became that standard to be a supporter musician to play a 5-string, and I love Fender Jazz style basses. So my main bass that I work with is a Fender Jazz 5-string.
Right, good. And now I wanted to ask you a couple of more extra questions, man. Like when you finally got your basses, you started gigging and or practicing with people. Who'd you start out practicing with, and then, and what gigs started coming your way? You know?
I never really started gigging quite a bit till much later on. Once I started, working out and practicing, there was a couple of jazz teachers that were at Siena Heights College in Adrian, Mike Lorenz and Mike Grace from Ann Arbor. He would come and teach private. I took a couple lessons with him to just kind of get me going with technique and reading and just basic playing. And then just basic jazz improv stuff. And so I would just jam around with the other, kids that were my age that were into playing at all. A lot of my playing in development was just by myself listening to records. I spent so much time just trying to emulate anything that I could and just loving, music and trying to learn the music that I like and the styles and working on technique and things like that. But I didn't really, and I would play in the college, jazz bands. That was kind of like where I first started, like really kind of playing.
So you went to school after high school?
No, I was doing that in high school. I was playing at the college jazz bands in high school. And eventually, I worked in the Washington Community College jazz program a little bit too.
Oh, as a student?
As a student. When I first started gigging was I spent a year up here in Southfield. I lived up here in Southfield, and I started playing at a church called Dunamis Outreach. And that was just a real hotbed of incredible, young, talented musicians. And that ministry was pretty much overseen by the members of commission. Fred Hammond would come in and help me out, and another Detroit bass player, right? And Mitchell Jones from commission, he was the minister of music. So I learned a lot, right? That's when I really started getting into playing. And at that time, I started studying with Dan Plisco.
Another Detroit bass player, instructor.
He was very, very helpful. I worked with him for about a year and a half or so, pretty solid, and he helped me out quite a bit. And at that time, Victor Wooten came around, right? That's about that time frame, right? Yeah. Then and all of a sudden everything's kind of different with bass. All of a sudden, he kind of put a new spark into it, and Marcus Miller came up with his first. Bass CDs. You could kind of The Sun Don't Lie. So that just really sparked a big interest in me when I for the instrument again when that stuff kind of came around and I met Victor and became friends with him.
Okay.
That's what led to go into that bass camp.
All right. Okay. And you said that was back in 2000. Now I got a question that I don't normally ask, but when you heard Victor's stuff, like we both said, when we heard Stanley and Jocko just turned us around.
Exactly.
When you heard Victor's, I'm gonna just go to the Bellafleck effect tones or the show of hands.
Right.
What happened to you?
I had already met him and become pretty hip to him before Show of Hands through the Fleck tones. A friend of mine urged me to check him out. He just urged me, and I was working somewhere, and they were in Ann Arbor, and he wouldn't let me off the phone until I promised to go see this band. Bela Fleck, who? Bela what? You know, right. This was back when they first started. Right. It was only the second tour that they had, and I went, and within maybe the first minute of it, just my jaw dropped, and he was just playing kind of just easy grooves, but just the effortlessness of his playing and his groove and tone and whatnot was just so hot. I was just like, yes.
Right. Well, when I heard him Show of Hands, when I purchased the CD Show of Hands, I quit playing for
a lot of people kind of say
for about 1 second.
Right. It makes you question what you want to do.
Yeah, I quit on every song I heard for about 1 minute, you know.
Right.
And,
what? No. What? Yeah. Now that?
Yeah, but you already had the pleasure of hanging out and meeting them and stuff.
Yeah, it just turned out when he was just such an accessible guy at these shows, and they were smaller at the time. You know, this is early in their career. Bela Fleck and the Fleck Tones, they were traveling around to a lot of college towns, and you know how they built their fan base was hanging out and connecting with their audience.
That's a good thing.
So he would they would do that, and he was so gracious, and it just turned out there was just things in common that he had as a guy, just as a dude, that I just like. Yeah, I like this. You like that too. You just became friends and kind of connected, and whenever he would come around, I'd always make a point to try to spend some time with him, and we just kind of our friendship came from there, and then it eventually, when he started doing his camps, I started to help him with his camps.
Okay.
He and Steve Bailey.
Ooh, that monster on the Fairly Six. Okay, so did you ever go to music college, conservatory for
that's
music?
Something I always considered. As soon as I graduated from high school, I went straight to LA to check out Musicians Institute, but I didn't go. And I eventually got away from playing and got into the bass and was doing DJ stuff for a while. But still, there was always that bass underneath, and I was always listening to, Jocko and Marcus and everything. Right. But I wasn't playing and gigging until I came over here and started playing at Dunamis up here in Southfield. That
is crazy. So many of us start and stop, Yeah. I mean, I can go around this room and 90% of us just had to put it down, and it said pick me back up. It said pick me back up. So
gets in your blood, man.
So you didn't get a chance to go to school yet. You got the opportunity to start teaching. So transition me into how does that happen?
Well, the other thing that I want to say about that too is you don't always have to go to school to really get the education that you need. The year or so that I spent with Dan Plisco, I know that I gained quite a bit there. And there's always that, especially in this day and age, you can get online and, people do Skype lessons, and it's with digital media and DVDs and whatnot, more and more of that is going on that, you can learn a lot and have an equivalent, college education, at home,
without
or alternate means.
Yeah.
But getting back to I think what your question was, where I got into teaching, just being a part of those guys' camps, just helping out with them.
Name some of the
Gerald Beasley also has a bass camp that originated right about the same time as Victor's. So I was, of course, curious about his camp after experiencing Victor's camp, and he would have such amazing teachers, Gary Willis and Doug Wimbish and Victor Bailey. He had just an incredible lineup of teachers always. So of course I wanted to check it out. So I did. And when I went there, Gerald and I just hit it off, and he and his staff and I just hit it off. And they realized that, my affinity to Victor and his camps, that, they ended up kind of putting me to use there, helping with their camps. And eventually it led to teaching opportunities.
Right, yeah, that's where I met you at in what's it, Reading, Pennsylvania.
Right.
At they every March they had a Berks Jazz Fest where almost everybody in jazz swings through, plays a set here, there, and
Amazing time.
all that whole weekend. Gerald Veasley, former bassist with Grover Washington.
Syndicate.
So much. The Weather Report guy. What was his name?
Joe Zawell, the late.
Yeah, he was this bassist and
an incredible solo artist as well.
And I think that's where I met you at a couple of years. We both hanging out at the camps.
Right.
I was a student learning how to be a better instructor. You know what I'm saying?
Great place to do that.
And so they hold them every March. Are they having another one?
They are. That'll be March 1st. Put that on your calendars. March 1st.
In Reading, Pennsylvania.
In Reading, Pennsylvania.
During the Berks Jazz Fest.
As a matter of fact, it might not coincide with the Berks Jazz Fest
this year.
But that's what's going on. It'll be March.
This is
March
the
1st.
wooten camp?
You can find that at
Veasley.
GeraldVeasley.com, that information.
Yeah, Gerald Veasley, he has a lot of great clinicians. Like this year is going to be Mike Manring.
Michael Manring,
Woo!
Adam Nitty, Anthony
crazy,
Wellington, Patrick Pfeiffer, Rob Smith should be there.
Right. Okay, now let's get to, so now do you teach lessons, bass lessons for anybody?
Yeah, I've been teaching for quite a few years, private lessons. In Adrian, I would teach out of the music store, which is no longer there. So that just kind of branched out to just not teaching quite as much, but more, in other people's homes often.
Private lessons.
Right, I do private lessons.
So if we wanted to contact you for music lessons and private lessons, how can we reach you? At BigEye.com?
Right, you can find me at
No, I'm just
kidding. You got a better time, man.
I'm just kidding. Go ahead. Give me your information.
To Jamaica. All right. You can find me on Facebook. It's easy to find me on Facebook. The bands that I work with, LadiesSunshine.net. You can reach me through there. But Facebook probably be the easiest way to find people these days.
Right, and contact this man for you. Where's Adrian at?
Adrian is it's
The south of here.
yeah southwest of towards Ann Arbor, between Ann Arbor and Jackson.
Oh, okay.
Right down southwest
Highway
corner.
50 till you just can't stand
There you
it
go.
no more, and then some.
Right, yeah. So for your people, some people that say, hey, we don't want to come out to Detroit to take lessons, this is the man right here to contact Joe Aranda. Now, you mentioned that we can contact you through your band as well, but so lately, who you been playing with and what's been going on with the music?
My main band right now is a band called Lady Sunshine and the X Band, 7-piece horn band fronted by a phenomenal lead singer, songwriter. That's more of an R&B, blues. As a matter of fact, that good timing for this. That band just won the Detroit Blues Challenge last weekend, so we'll be competing in the International Blues Challenge in Memphis in the end of January.
You done beat out Larry Lee back in the day, man.
I'm not sure if they competed or not.
Oh.
Yeah, they weren't in the finals that we were in.
Okay.
They might have done that as well.
Yeah.
But that's a band
Different categories,
right?
right.
Yeah,
Right.
right.
Another band, kind of a more
That's right. Yeah.
pop variety dance band that I work with called Blackwells. Do everything from Prince to Boss Skaggs to Lady Gaga. I mean, just everything, any jazz, funk, everything, little country, everything. It's kind of just a fun band to work with, some really good musicians. I've worked with Johnny Lawrence, a great jazz guitar player, for about last 10 years.
Were you at Washington when his dad was the?
That would be Morris. They're actually not related.
Right, no, they're not related. Yeah. Right, but I was, at that same time, I was at Washington majoring in photography because I quit playing bass when I initially picked up bass seriously in the early '80s. I said, man, I gotta make some money. So I was interested in photography at the same time. So I was at Washington studying photography, and then I went to work for newspapers for about 15 or so years, maybe almost 20, before I got back to playing bass on a halfway serious.
But they've got great programs there.
Yeah, and they'll tell you a story long ago in my youth where I was, where I was kind of troubled, and I tried to steal a upright bass from high school. don't
I wonder
worry
why
about
that's
that.
no longer there.
Right, but don't worry about that. And they'll tell you, make sure you got yours with you before I leave. But that is a beautiful.
Thank you. Thank you.
And for it to have been once
Victor's.
Victor's I feel like Victor's in the room.
Oh,
with us.
absolutely.
Yeah.
He broke us in. He had it on the road for about 6 months.
Well, we see if we.
There's some good dents that I know. This wasn't there before I got it.
Victor's the type of guy that would definitely come and hang out here if we time one.
Amazing
Yeah.
guy.
You know.
That would be great, you know, to get
So,
Is Victor's old bass?
Yeah, this was his bass.
Damn.
so you playing with these cats and those cats.
Another really fine artist, Athena Johnson. I've been working with her quite a bit while doing kind of more the neo soul jazzy type thing.
Okay, now where can we hear you at, Joe? We want to hear you live. We want to hear CDs.
Yeah, tonight I'm at the tap room with Lady Sunshine and the X Band. That's what I'm doing tonight.
Well,
No, okay, that's on Michigan and
right on Michigan,
Washington?
Michigan and Washington.
Oh, down
It's
Ann
the band's anniversary, so we throw a Halloween
yeah,
party. That's when the band
Washington.
originated at the tap room on Halloween. So
Right.
we
all
have
right.
to go back there.
So for those who watching this video, don't go there tonight that you're watching it.
Right, not
because-
tonight.
Right.
Right,
Because-
but you
But give me the date what date that we talking about? The 20, what's the date?
27th.
These are 27.
So you talking about
Right.
today,
Tonight.
October the 27th,
Right.
2012.
Correct.
All right, so where are you going to be playing November? When's the next?
You can
When
find
am
me
I going to edit this?
You can find me at Spirits in Belleville with the Blackwell's band.
This
I'll
is
be there in
frequent?
November 10th, I believe that date is. You can check with that. And I have some various dates that come in. Lady Sunshine.
Okay, so we
usually you can find things
really
online.
have to keep checking your
Yeah,
Facebook
those
page.
those pages. The schedule stays updated.
And how about listening? You got some music we can.
Yeah, there's
online
YouTube
music?
videos of Lady Sunshine. You can probably find some of the Johnny Lawrence trio that I'm on online. That's
Okay, and any solo material coming?
no solo material.
Why
right?
not?
Maybe it's about that time. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I mean you got a solo bass.
Most people don't urge me for that because I'm usually what I do is back up other people. I enjoy doing that.
Yeah,
and
me too.
that's-
Yeah.
whatever I do solo, I haven't really thought about that too much.
Right. Well, most of us are just side men.
Yeah, I
You know,
enjoy
it might be one or two
solo bassists.
solo basses in here.
I know a lot of great solo bassists.
Okay, so name some up.
Oh my goodness.
So in
Victor
case I
Wooten.
want to go listen to
Victor
some.
Wooten, Steve Bailey.
Because I was sleeping on one guy, Gary Willis, for years.
Gary Willis.
I slept
Gary
on him
Willis.
for years. I slept on Dave LaRue for
Adam
years.
Nitty is a good one to check out too.
yeah,
Adam
yeah.
Nitty.
So give me some names of some people I shouldn't sleep on as
Adam
solo
Nitty,
basses.
Solo basses. Even Alain Caron. I mean, some of the stuff he does is solo piece. Of course,
Right.
John Patitucci, everyone should know as far as solo basses.
yeah.
You know, mine's drawing a blank, but I have friends that do a lot of the looping things, a lot of the looping work.
I also like what's the name from the Yellow Jackets?
Jimmy Haslett.
Jimmy Haslett.
Fantastic,
Richard
fantastic
Boner.
player. Richard
Richard
Boner.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
man, Richard
Oh.
Boner, please, yeah.
These some nasty.
Yeah.
For y'all, I mean, just hear the names and Google these names.
Google these names.
It's not, I know some people are gonna say that's diarrhea because they running so much, but just check out the extent of their talent and then back off of it and just sit in the
Yeah.
pocket like, you know, so who's some of your pocket players that just sit in the pocket, don't do nothing.
It'll always forever be Marcus.
Well,
Marcus, that's just what I
He
just
do
grew
a
up so
lot
much. So much of his wide range of music that he just played great pocket. Will Lee is another favorite pocket player. Chuck Rainey,
Of course, yeah.
and of course the
Chuck Rainey, that's my boy.
Motown tradition. Jamerson,
Yeah.
and the James Brown bass players. Incredible
Bootsy.
pocket.
Bootsy was-
Charles Sherrill and Bernard Odom, those guys.
right.
Incredible stuff.
The funny thing is when you ask somebody to start naming off people, it's like you go blank.
Right, yeah.
I mean, I
And
just
I
did
like
it.
the way you just pointed that camera right at me.
I mean, I just did an interview and the guy started asking me questions and stuff. And I swear, after the interview was over, I was like, let's go back and redo this because I got.
Now I remember.
Yeah, I got.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Because you don't want to leave people out that stuff like that.
Just.
But man, we ain't want to keep you, man. We just wanted to talk to you, get to know you, find out where we can reach you at. We know we got a few places we can reach you at now, and anybody have any questions for this fine bassist other than I?
How do we? You're on Facebook.
Yeah, you can find me easily on Facebook. Joe Aranda, Aranda.
Aranda.
Right, you can find me easily on Facebook. And
Which do you have a favorite between the jazz and the?
my main, because I just grew up loving Fender jazz bass sounds. My biggest influence was Larry Graham and Marcus Miller and Will Lee and those guys. Jocko, that jazz bass sound was just, I just linked bass so much to that sound too. As great as all the other basses sound, as amazing as this bass sounds, it just isn't really my personal flavor. I love playing this amazing bass, but every time I play this bass, I just think of Victor. I hear him. It's hard. It's a challenge to be me on this bass even.
Yeah. American Deluxe.
I play a Marcus Miller 5-string, which is a fantastic bass.
You like that round fretboard?
Yeah, I do, and I like that '70s sounding style of a jazz bass. They
I
capture
like
pretty
how it
decent.
sound when you digging and
Yeah, it's a great. You have that bass as well.
Yeah.
Right.
Anybody else got any questions for this fine bass?
About these clinics.
Yeah. There's.
I didn't hear the question. What was the question?
Clinics
About the clinics.
about Gerald Veasley's bass boot camp. That's just it's a weekend camp, like Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and it's just jam packed with just instruction day, even until the evening. That's how I kind of got started teaching there, because I went there as a student initially, and he had the idea of utilizing some of that time and energy that's going on in the camp in the evenings, and he started having some of the past students that might be doing some things a little more professionally or whatnot, or accomplished, come back and teach in the evenings in like a midnight class. So there'd be a reading class, a slap bass class, tapping, whatnot, different topics, and they were miscellaneous.
Wow, cool.
So it's just Gerald always brings in great instruction, and it's entertaining as well. It's so inspiring because not only are these instructors amazing instructors, but they're world-class bass players that we listen to. The fans of the bass listen to these these great players, and then they're here to teach you. So that's a great one. And VictorWooten.com, you can find the bass nature, his Wooten Woods information there.
That's VictorWooten.com.
You have to like kind of check into these things, because there's a lot there that you might be missing out on.
And GeraldVeasley.com will link you to Gerald Veasley's BassBootCamp.com. And the other thing, when you rubbing elbows, like I'm hanging out eating lobster with guys like Brian Bromberg.
Right.
Oh man.
And who was the other bass player? Adam Nitty. Me, Adam Nitty, and Brian Bromberg is sitting here eating crab legs, not lobster, but crab legs. And I'm like, somebody take a picture of this, Because I'm thinking, after I finish eating this, I'm going to be a better bass player just from eating lunch with these guys. And not just that, I hung out with Victor Wooten. Anthony Wellington is the best instructor in the world to me. That's just my opinion, though. So if you go to these camps, I mean, you just kick it with them all day and learn different stuff. I mean, you wind up talking about. Me and Mike Manring was watching somebody play, like it's like he just dropped the fifth down, and like that's what he just did to go down the fifth. Oh, now he's up a six. Just talking different kind of. I'm like, I'm talking music with these cats.
And not only that, the students that you meet there, from all over the country, and even international students. You get to meet some fine players, great people that love what you love.
So not only you get to meet them, but what you're saying about the students. That
sense of community that you get through, and that's what's cool about this, is that's being built right here now. But think of that on a much larger scale, where 60 60 bass players from all over, gather for a weekend to, to share and learn and enjoy the music,
Right, and then
and the relationships, the friendships you develop, and it's such fun because you got 60 different basses to check out that weekend.
Right. And then after class is over, you jam and then eat dinner together and
take private lessons with
take private lessons.
I've studied with
gig.
Gary Willis privately, Adam Nitty there privately. You get that opportunity, and rarely do you get that kind of opportunity. A whole weekend to take a lesson with two guys like of that caliber, and it's a great opportunity.
Right. That's why I met you. I also met you at the Marcus Miller interview. Now, what was you doing hanging out at the Marcus Miller show?
I met Marcus when I was 17 years old, and right when I was just getting into it, and that made a big difference on who I am and being a bass player. I saw him with David Sanborn when he was maybe 22 years old, just clowning. Him and Hiram Bullock were just clowning on that stage, and I saw them do that, and I was just like, that's what I want to do, be a clown on the bass. Well, I met him, and he was very encouraging, and when he doesn't come around that often, but when he does, I usually am able to connect with them and hang with them, and he's given me some time, private lesson before, and it's been really fortunate. I've been real fortunate.
Right. Okay, man. Well, like I said before, I didn't want to keep you and everything, but I do want to thank you for coming out to hang out in the basement. Coming all the way from Adrian. Wherever that is.
You had to Google that too.
Adrian in the house representing. So why don't you just play us? Yeah, let's play us a little bit of something out, man, and then we'll let you go. Ladies and gentlemen, Detroit bass player Joe Aranda.
Oh, I want to jump on that so bad.
Dynamics.
Yeah. Oh, please.
Going home.
And take up photography.
Thank you, lady.